I remember sitting in the audience, listening to the speaker and thinking, wow, this is the worst thing ever. But of course, I was having this inner dialogue, wondering whether or not I was being super critical because my inner Toastmaster kicked in, or whether I was being super sensitive to it because I speak and work with leaders, presenters, and speakers for a living. So I looked around the audience, and at least 50% of them were on their phones or were just leaning on their elbows. Still, I wasn't sure. So I turned to my wife, who was with me, and said, "Babe, is this terrible, or am I being overly critical?" She responded, "Well, if you had come home and told me how challenging this was, I would have thought you were just triggered because of what you do. But, wow, this is pretty bad." The hard part about all of this was we were in church and this was a preacher, and people usually don't tell the preacher they're bad. They just talk about it at lunch. And as a result, most of these preachers or speakers never get the feedback they need. So today's question: what do you do when you know people need to make a change, but they don't know they need that change? Let's talk about it.
We talking about leadership, communication, public speaking, storytelling, motivation. And if you listen, you can speak out to the nation. If you think about it, life is your own creation. RK3 is the show. He speaks with confidence, he speaks with that flow. And you should already know how it goes. They're rolling with a pro.
The RK3 show.
Hey, y'all. It's another show, season 2, episode 3, episode 53 overall. And while I want to make this evergreen, I really can't help but refer to what's happening right now. You're probably in the midst of coronavirus, COVID-19 season right now. What are you up to? Has it totally disrupted your life, or are you coping? Well, I want to give a quick shout out to Felicia Slattery, who collaborated with me a couple of weeks ago to deliver some pop-up sessions about how to adjust virtually as a speaker or presenter during this time. And I want you to check the show notes and you'll see links to the episodes we did on YouTube. Felicia is also a guest for an upcoming episode 58. So be on the listen for that. You'll absolutely love your energy. I think we really played off each other well. So check that out. Episode 58 coming up soon. Speaking of episodes, don't forget to go back to check out the episodes from last week with former NFL player and ESPN analyst Merrill Hodge. I want you to check out episode 51 with trailblazer Carla Cannon. And also, there are tons of great episodes in season 1 with people like Alan Weiss, Stephen Hart from trailblazer.fm, Annie Meehan, Nicholas Boothman, Stephen Pasha Carter, world public speaking champion Mark Brown, and Coach Kendall Ficklin. Do me a favor, go back and check out these episodes and leave us a comment so we know what you found useful and valuable. Not sure how to leave a comment? Check the show notes. There's a quick tutorial there about how to get it done. I want to share with you a resource today. This week, I'll share what I'm reading. Reading is one of the things I do for my own personal development, and right now I'm reading The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Connor. That's The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Connor. There's a quote from the book where John says, "The problem isn't having a lot to do. It's when you have too much to do, and the only way to keep up the quota is to hurry." That kind of busy has us all reeling. Wow. Maybe that's the good in the corona crisis, right? Getting us all to slow down, reset, reassess a bit, and decide what's next. Check the show notes to see a link to this book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Let's talk about my guest for today, Layna Ware. She's worked with organizations like Lockheed Martin, Capital One Bank, and even served Oprah, Mark Burnett, Joel Osteen, and more. Her company, Professional Speakers Concierge, creates hospitality magic for professional speakers looking to communicate, execute, and respond in a way that is professional and sound. Thing is, many speakers don't even know they need it until they've got it. Let's start from the top with Layna. I want to find out, first of all, just a little touch about your background. I just mentioned the concierge service, but I read on your website and I saw some different things. I saw the name Oprah in there, right?
Yeah.
So when when we hear the name Oprah, we've got to find out what happened there. How'd that happen?
Oh my goodness. Well, a little bit of background. I have my master's in industrial psychology. I love the psychology of business. Why do people do the things that they do in the business space? And then I loved coaching speakers because I wanted to have an understanding of their purpose at the podium. And once I started talking to certain speakers, I realized some people didn't really have a purpose, or they didn't fully understand their purpose. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go and get certified through Strength Finders, and I want to talk to people about their purpose. And I would just call random speakers around the country. I just wanted to know what they talked about. How could I, support? And I love giving. If it's time, attention to whatever event, how can I support you was my whole thing. It was never a thought that it would be a business of how you support. But I was at an event in Oprah. How it came about is this is how the idea was birthed. Yeah. We were here in Dallas at an event where she was the keynote, and all these people came out to support, and there was things that I saw, and this is where the seed came about. I recognized that even though that some of them had personal assistants, that the speakers had a level of expectation, number one. Number two, I didn't see anyone around them that also understood the vision and goals that particular speaker had for that event, And so just having all of the things happening at the moment and not having a point of contact and not having the necessary things that they needed in the moments of when they needed them, from that event, I wrote down some of the thoughts and ideas or frustrations that I saw and things that I even experienced as a speaker. And I just wanted to really just learn, what is it that you guys need? Because you're the experts, you have your needs, and if that was lead generation or revenue generating activities. But as the expert of what you are needing at an engagement, I started writing down solutions and prayed over it, built out the framework of the company, and then we launched. The event was in April. I said I'm going to do it in June, and then we launched officially in November. That we would have a team of concierges that could fly all over the country to help and support and serve professional speakers.
So tell us what that was like, the birthing of that idea. How did you feel and know that this was something that was going to be sustainable? And it was even going to be something that people would be receptive to?
I didn't know if people were going to be receptive. I just knew that once I started having the conversations with speakers, that it would be a aha, or oh my goodness, you exist. And that's what started to happen when we were in the launching phase and ensuring that what we were doing was are these certain services that you would want to buy. And so it was a little rocky at first because you have to always educate and communicate what it is that you're giving, because that was another thing in the beginning. People thought I did one thing or another thing, and so to clearly articulate who we serve and what are those services, what does that mean? And so a lot of people think that they're speakers, and some of them don't even, there's certain things, there's a level to it. So, but I think that the beginning part of all of that, it was just crazy. It was crazy. So I didn't know if it was going to be sustainable.
So what were speakers saying to you? I mean, you have these people who come to these events and they have their personal assistants, as you identified, and they're used to doing things a certain way. Yeah. They're used to having things in a routine, and here you are. You've got this thing, and you say, "Let me do that for you," or "Let me handle this differently." What were some of the reactions that you were getting from speakers?
I think when up front, you're just like, "Hey, we're there for you. We are your support. when you tell us what your mission and vision is, it's just that we're behind the scenes ensuring that your brand at all times is professional, it's coming off well, and all of the fires that you don't need to know about, that we take, we just handle it, basically. So that if your PowerPoint is not working at first, it's not something that you need to know in the moment, unless it's something that's going to be impactful to what you're going to present. But certain things that are happening behind the scenes, I think as a speaker, you're already, getting your mind right and things like that. And so having a support and a team as opposed to an individual that is catered to your schedule and it's totally different kind of support that people are not used to hearing. So I get it. Yeah.
So you've had this journey that you've been on with your business, and as is typical with most businesses, you've had ups, you've had downs, you've had moments. You said you weren't even sure it was going to be sustainable at the beginning. So there are some things that cause us as business owners to push through. For you, what was that moment? Was there a moment that you said, oh my gosh, no matter what happens from here, I've got to keep doing this? What was that moment for you?
You and I were discussing about self-care, and I actually haven't mentioned this to anyone. I was experiencing migraines because I love creating and all of those different things. And, when you're trying to see what works, what doesn't, and things that keep you up at night about, how are you going to best support a particular client, and they are at a level that you're like, oh my goodness, you just want them to have a great experience. And experience is so very important to me. But I couldn't, my body was telling me, you can't run and go cray cray. There has to be a balance to it. So one thing I had to do was make sure that self-care was a part of my regimen. And it was Della Toro that was like, you need candles, and he's one of the people that actually first presented it to me in regards to self-care. But at the root of it, I had to put the right people around me to help build out the vision. So creating leads for my teams, people didn't have to have direct access to me, people who want to get on a call. It was just certain things that I had to guard myself at first. Before diving back in. And there were things that I was just like, oh my goodness, it's new. There's people that have coaching, and all this stuff, and they have frameworks and systems for it. But when you're building something brand new, nobody has seen it before, has never been built before, and you are the visionary, and how you communicate all of those, moving pieces, and you want to be able to fulfill what you're saying that you can do. It was heavy, very heavy.
So you said something important just now. I don't want to gloss it over or run by it. We're talking about self-care, and you talked about being the visionary, but you also mentioned having people around you or building your team. How did you know, number one, how to build a team, who you needed to be on that team, and what this team should look like?
We had to build from scratch the onboarding experience of the concierge. What are we looking for? And one of the biggest resources to understand the best of the best concierge in the world, we went to the Ritz-Carlton leadership program of what they look for and holding them to a particular standard. And so even our orientation, when we onboard them and we're talking about some of our requirements in order to be to support someone else, and it's not about you. It had to be a team that understood what service looked like and the importance of customer service, like all of those different things, and experience. So it's an arduous process. When you want to become a concierge, we actually put them in an environment at an event where they have to do a dry run for at minimum 2 hours, and they can do what you think a concierge would do. We don't even tell them anything because a lot of it is innate. And we look at their behavior, we look at their stance, their conversations, their everything. And so building out the right team with the right people, the right leads. And, and then once you have certain people, you get to also see what you don't want, in regards to timeliness and certain things, because people can put a good front on the first time through. And so you get to see what you do not want. So,
right.
Yeah, you see a vision and then people are coming together and then you see that that doesn't really match the vision.
Communication, motivation, leadership, and more. You're listening to the RK3 Show.
Hey, are you interested in telling your story in a way that's more impactful, inspirational, and influential? Come on and join me in the Storytellers Growth Lab on Facebook. That's the Storytellers Growth Lab. Come on over and we'll share with you tips, tricks, and tutorials on ways of making your story even more convincing, how you can connect with others, and even make some cash while you tell it. Come on, join us in the Storytellers Growth Lab on Facebook. I'll see you there. And now back to the show. As you start to build out this team, as you start to put this vision together, what were the criteria that you used for yourself? Did you begin to literally just sit down and write out a job description or a organizational chart? What is it that you did that you were able to really visualize what this team should look like?
Yep. We have now it's like a 6+ page document, a manual, their credo, their expectations. And my orientation was taught by my mentor, just, serving them, with a plate, with their pens and everything being done with excellence and how does it make them feel. So everything, we blew it up and we wanted to make sure that we didn't just preach what they should do, but we actually we enforced it by being an example of what we were looking for. And so we have a whole training onboarding process and it's all, just the standards. What do we believe in? What is the mission? What is the purpose? And really having them memorize those things and that they eat, sleep, and breathe outside of PSCS, but actually just out there in the world of how they should live their everyday life.
Awesome. So one of the things that we've been talking about from the beginning here is that you took on this thing that you weren't even sure whether or not it was going to be sustainable. Speakers themselves, who are your clients or your targets, weren't even 100% sure that they needed this thing yet. So if you have someone who is saying, oh my gosh, I see this and I know the market needs this, but the market doesn't know that it needs it yet, how would you advise that person to move forward?
Number one is knowing your end result. Mm-hmm. What is it that you as a speaker want? What is it that you want when you step away from a podium? Starting at that point, if you want to come off as the professional and the person that is experienced, you shouldn't be setting up and breaking down your own table. And a lot of this just is a visual painting for people. How do you want to come off? If somebody's been following you on social media, they're excited about seeing you, and you are taking pictures, writing things down, you're signing books, and you're trying to take the transactions and doing all of those different things, it just doesn't have a polished look. And if you're a professional speaker, professionalism should be the first thing. And people can see the difference between someone that is supported and then someone that is just coming and they're just doing everything themselves. And people once you kill it on stage, people want to talk to you and they want to connect with you. Yeah. And I think sometimes we take those things for granted, but then you probably could have made an X number of probably additional leads or more money if you had somebody in place to kind of be your eyes and ears outside of just yourself. Right.
So when should a speaker connect with you? I know that one of the fears of many maybe beginning speakers or even middle of the road, as far as the journey is concerned, speakers, is putting the cart before the horse. Okay, you want to have this concierge service that makes me look larger than I really am, but I'm not necessarily making the dollars yet to support that. When should a speaker, when does someone engage you?
They engage us when they're ready to be that professional. And if you are starting out I would think you would want to start out as the professional. You don't want to come off as, well, people don't know that you're a beginner until you say it or somebody experiences the nature of how you're presenting yourself. And so it's whenever you're prepared to take it to the next level. We have a lot of pre-work that we do and understanding who you are, your vision, your products, your services. And we have a gathering phase. And we also have strategy calls where, let's talk through some of the things that you don't maybe necessarily think about when you're about to go out there. And let's talk about your back of the room table and the experience you want to give people. I'd say that once you're ready to be the professional, it's just whenever you want to step to the plate. Even just getting on a call with us, the first call is complimentary. I think that's the first step, is just find out if this is a good fit for you.
Yeah. Awesome. So tell us a little bit more about where we can find you. How do we get in touch with not just Layna Ware, but the Professional Speakers Concierge Service?
Yes. So online, if you go to prospeakerservice.com, PRO, speakerservice.com, you can find services and how you can sign up or get started with at least a phone call, and you just tell us if you have an event coming up and those details. Or on Facebook, LinkedIn, you can find it Professional Speakers Concierge Service, CONCIERGE service. Because believe me, God put the vision inside, but I was like, wait, how do I spell that? So let me tell you, and people spell it all kinds of crazy ways. Yeah. So we're on Facebook, LinkedIn. It has its own profile, and so if people are looking at what are the services and what do we offer, it's all there.
That was awesome. You can wait for it to come to you, or you can go out and get it. Neither approach is incorrect. I won't judge you, but there's one approach which does tend to yield more results. What do you want? Rest or results? Both, you say? Well, I'm going to recommend going to get it, because when you go get it, you can rest a little before moving into what's next. Step into your talents, stand in your gift, and sashay on into your ideas, because those ideas are what we need to move the world. We need you. We need your story. Let's go. Do me a huge favor. Share the podcast with a friend if you found it valuable. Hop on over to Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and everywhere you listen to podcasts. If you don't find us in your favorite app, let me know. Leave me a message on robertkennedy3.com/voicemail. That's robertkennedy3.com/voicemail. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Don't forget to tune in next time, because I've got an amazing episode entitled Communication, Cars, and Christ. Love it. Communication, Cars, and Christ. And my amazing guest is David Villa of IPD Agency. I know you're going to enjoy it. This episode is not just for Christians. Come on, share it and let the world know you're listening. Hey, y'all, don't forget, check the show notes. I've got a gift there for you. If you're trying to figure out how to run an engaging, interesting, and informative virtual meeting and session, I want to invite you to download my 3C virtual session checklist. It's in the show notes, and I promise you won't be disappointed. Lastly, I want you to join me in the Storytellers Growth Lab on Facebook. We're looking to equip 1 million people to tell their stories with confidence and for profit. Search for the Storytellers Growth Lab on Facebook. The link's in the show notes. I'll see you there. Listen, I know that life ain't always easy, and you got a lot of stuff happening to you, but guess what? Everything that happens to you in life is your stuff is your story, and your story deserves a stage. I'm Robert Kennedy III, and you've been listening to
The RK3 Show.